Hello and welcome to t.w.i.c. I'm Cody. I'll be one of your co-hosts today.
And I'm LeNora. I'll be your other co-host for today.
So t.w.i.c. stands for This Week in Childfree. We take a look at recent articles, events, and happenings in and around the Childfree community. If you'd like to submit something for us in a future episode, send us an email to childfreemedia@gmail.com and put t.w.i.c, t.w.i.c in the subject line so it stands out for us and we can find it a little bit easier. But before we start, a quick shout out to StreamYard for providing this really cool streaming platform for us to enjoy and share and use it in this episode. And also a thanks to Childfree Wealth, financial planning that supports your life without kids. For more information, please check out childfreewealth.com. So with that said, as of right now, we are live and this will be archived later. So if you missed out, catch us next time. But feel free to join us in the comments, either live or on the archived portion. So with no further ado, these are basically articles that either come across my way or LeNora's way. And usually I'm the one that finds them and brings them up. And LeNora actually, like the first three that we're going to go through, she's like, yeah, we probably need to talk about this in t.w.i.c.
We do.
On the next one. So with no further ado, LeNora, I'll let you kind of take the lead on this if you want.
Okay, so all right, you're being in charge of scrolling here. Okay,
yeah, I'll scroll.
So yeah, I came across these articles and sent them to Cody. I'm like, Kate, we're talking about this. And normally I don't know what we're going to talk about, but I think I turned the tables on Cody this week. So the headline is, and this is from Slate. Am I getting that right?
Slate.com. I don't know what that is, but
okay.
Here we are.
Well, about technology. So medical examiner, well, that's not okay. That's the subcategory. So yeah, the title is Elon Musk's feud with Grimes is a warning. Now, everyone knows who Elon Musk is. Grimes is one of his partners he's had children with. So, subtitle: The billionaire is now funding academic research and revealing his interest in a future where women exist to have lots of babies. So, obviously, this is not hashtag childfree, but it's totally relevant to what we talk about.
It's not our lane, but it kind of merges into it down the road. By the way that goes. I mean, the way just the heading, revealing his interest in a future where women exist to have lots of babies. I mean, that's not really different than the way a lot of people view life anyway. So, but
the thing is, I mean, I should say too that because we were talking about this before we went live. So Grimes is a Canadian singer. She's got her own platform and he has children with women who have their own platform. So it's not like he's just plucking people out of the woods and just procreating with them. Like, these are women who have, their own means, their own careers. And so it's interesting. I have a lot to say about it, but maybe we should, but it's
all right. Okay. And this is by Andrea Becker.
Yes. Okay, and there's a lot of babies in this photo we can scroll past. Okay, so I'll read this one here. Elon Musk is a father of at least 10 children. He has 5 with his ex, Justine Musk, who has written that she felt like an employee in their marriage rather than a partner. He secretly had twins in 2021 with Siobhan Zilis, an executive at his company, Neuralink. The rumor among their colleagues, Ruta reported, was that there was no romance, just IVF. For some reason, I believe that. Musk confirmed last month that he and Grimes, his more recent ex, are the parents of 3 kids, 2 of whom were born via surrogacy. Grimes is now suing Musk for parental rights, having asked, as Vulture reported, in a now deleted X post, "Tell Elon to let me see my son." Father of the Year.
So this article seems to be like a mesh of different articles, just because it's already quoted 2 different sources. But
I'm already having issues with their sentence structure. It's not the easiest thing to read out.
The bots aren't very smart.
Good point. Musk's many kids and his pattern towards the women he has them with aren't just fodder for gossip. They're connected to Musk's larger worldview, one that the billionaire owner of an increasingly chaotic social media platform is now working to spread far beyond his own family. Musk has been called the tech world's highest profile pronatalist, albeit unofficially by Insider, and it's clear that at least some of his views line up with the movements. Okay, I apologize for the sentence structure. I didn't write this. We're just reading it. The pronatalists, or natalists as some call themselves, believe that low birth rates, especially low birth rates among the quote-unquote high-achieving and quote-unquote really smart, is the number one danger plaguing the nation and the world writ large. Okay.
Just real quick. So the
Hmm.
pronatalists or natalists, as some call themselves, I mean, to me, there is a slight difference there. Like a pronatalist, like he is definitely pronatalist because he's wanting people to have as many kids as they possibly can.
Mhm.
Like I would think a natalist is more like pronatalist light. Like
That's what I think. You know what?
like they're not going to like overly encourage people to have as many kids as they can possibly have. But I don't see. I don't know. I don't know if that's appropriate to call it that. I'm not heavy into that world, but it seems weird to claim two things are the same thing.
Well, you have me Googling now. Well, see, when I type in natalist, it's natalism that comes up, which is, according to Wikipedia, is also pronatalism.
Hmm.
I mean, we might have to do more research on that later. I don't know. Okay. So, where were we here? Okay, this ranks the number of babies women are having as more important than income inequality, gun violence, or even the continued risk of climate disaster.
Period. Hold right there. Yeah. Hold on.
Okay, okay.
Let's. If you're a climate denier, yeah, I guess it doesn't matter. But to the actual science and the fact that there is an issue with the future of the planet and climate, to like basically be like, no, we should just keep having like tons and tons and tons of kids. That's not the best future for them.
No.
Like I guess you would almost have to like hedge all of your bets that climate change is completely wrong and it's going to reverse itself or get better, like, you know, in a matter of like, I don't know, a decade, which probably isn't going to happen because it's taken us a while to get to this point. And the best thing we can do, I believe it right now, is to slow it. Like that's about the only thing we can do. There's like reversing it is highly improbable. In my opinion.
Okay, I'm going to go back to just what we previously read about, you know, they're looking at this, they're looking at the bubble of high achieving and really smart. So
really
meaning,
smart is in quotations for those that aren't reading
yes.
this.
So
If you're listening to this on podcast.
I just feel like they don't care as long as that bubble who have the resources to escape climate change and afford inflation and or be able to handle inflation and all the things that it costs just to live, that's it's like it's not an issue. Forget about the regular people of average intelligence or no intelligence, you know, like it's I think they're just really okay, well let's continue
Just reading this sentence, like the number of babies women are having is more important than income equality, gun violence, or even continued risk of climate disaster. Like just picking each one of those apart, like the income equality, you can't just keep having like more and more people with massive disparity in income. Like that's a recipe for disaster. Gun violence, like that's really in America. But even then, like, yeah, if you're going to have income inequality, you're going to have more gun violence. Like eventually, like it's going to be knocking on their door. Like they're so it's like,
well, I think they would see that as like, okay, so if someone what's the point of having income equality when the women are just going to stay home and have babies anyway? So then there's no point. Like I just see that would be their reasoning. It's just gun violence. I mean, we have gun violence in Canada. Not to the extent extreme that you guys do, but again, like I always say every episode, we're only 10% of the American population, and half of them go to the U.S. for the winter anyway. So, but having said that, since global warming is happening, you guys will be coming up here very quickly.
Probably.
Yeah. Because our snow will soon, although it's supposed to snow here next week. Anyway, all right, shall we continue on?
Yes, please.
Are you sure? Elon Musk has called low birth rates as a much bigger risk to civilization than global warming. They also believe that the biological effects of hormonal birth control and abortion, which Musk has linked to the crumble of civilization. My mouth doesn't even want to read this anymore. Coupled with a lack of support for parents and families are driving these decreasing birth rates. Okay, look. Can we
Yeah, I mean, what did
How much has he actually talked to people who have chosen to not have children? He's not. Look, if he wants to speak at our next, well, not speak. If he wants to listen to our next back, we'll let him kind of talk. We'll let him come on screen.
I'd bring him up on stage. I'd bring him up on stage.
That's
I mean,
true.
why not?
I can't imagine him just like sitting in the audience typing.
I mean, just as the quote is a much bigger risk to civilization than global warming. Like, again, you would have to be like a climate denier to think that like, it's just fuel on the fire, like to add more and more people to a problem that is coming down the pipeline.
Well,
to say as said before, like really smart people, quote unquote, like if he considers himself a really smart person, that's not a really smart answer to global warming or climate change, whichever term you want to use.
No, because I don't. Okay, like I don't pretend to read up on the scientific backing for climate. But to me, it's just okay. So I'm going to point out the lack of support for parents and families are driving these decreasing birth rates. See, to me, he's totally missing the conversation of choice and to even talk to again. Okay, so there's a small portion of child-free people who are online. But from what I've seen and what we know on the many conversations we've had in a variety of different platforms, people aren't choosing to not have kids because of lack of support. They're not interested in having kids. Like I
period.
mean,
for most of them, it's
climate. Yeah, it's just not something of interest. That lifestyle is not of interest. And I've never felt the call to be a parent. And sure, if for them to say, "Oh, it's because support, lack of support, lack of families," no. We've just been pushed that this is what you do. Well, now some of us are speaking out and saying, wait a second. No, we just don't have the inclination. Like he's never gone to investigate. He's just saying or assuming that that's why people aren't having kids without actually talking to anybody about it, who have chosen not to have children. Right. And I always feel like just the conversation of choice just totally gets thrown out. You know, it's like just people don't want to have kids.
Yeah.
It's kind of simple, actually.
Well, I mean, and some people, and we've heard this in different child-free spaces and people sharing their stories. It's like, if someone's reasoning was financial reasoning why they don't want to have a kid, and someone's like, well, what if someone gave you $1 million? Like they would still,
that's not gonna be enough.
They might even think about it, but then they still might be like, yeah, no. Like, so,
how many trips we could take?
In my opinion, once you say that, like, you're child free and you accept that choice and you're happy with it, why would you want to give up happiness for something? Like, it's your happiness. Like, you've come to the decision to not have kids. So,
and he's also
$1 million is worth it. Like, it's
well, it depends. $1 million Canadian or $1 million US. There's a disparity there. Talk about inequality. Okay. Also, see, when they throw out crumble of civilization, like they just throw out those words just to freak people out. Right? I mean, I happen to think that, we've talked about this before, how just because you're child free does not mean you're really smart or you're high achieving or you accomplish all these big things. But child free people generally think very deeply about this choice and a lot of other things that come along with it. I find child-free people, for the most part, there are exceptions to be, quite intelligent, especially when it comes to like really deep diving into life. And so, I think the world would benefit from more child-free people who do care about life. And so again, it's like the old crumble of civilization because you're not having kids. Look, if kids were the answer, we would live in a much better world than what we actually do. People making horrendous decisions, starting wars, all that stuff.
Yeah.
Have children. Sorry.
And it seems kind of silly that the child free, at least like in us speaking personally, like we care more about the future of the planet than Elon Musk does, because he's like, no, have more kids. Don't worry about global warming. Not a big deal. And we're like, no, we worry about global warming, even though we have no future gain in this. we still care. Like,
Yes.
so, just like you were saying, like child free people, especially in making the decision and the choice to be child free, a lot of thought has gone into that. And to just kind of flippantly be like, oh no, it's because there's no support for parents or financial or whatever. It's like not true. Like there's a lot of thought that goes behind making that decision. So yeah.
I think he just talks because he can.
He
So
bought a big microphone. Like
that's true. We should have bought X. Come on, Cody. We should have bought it. Okay, so continuing on, the article says some of these concerns do make sense. Certainly, there is much more support for parents. Oh, sorry. Pardon me. Certainly, there should be much more support for parents, especially mothers in the United States. Subsidized childcare and a healthcare system where childbirth doesn't cost parents $10,000 on average would be a good place to start, in my opinion. As a medical sociologist with training in reproductive health, in reproductive health and demography. Okay, well, as someone who lives in a country where there is healthcare and I don't get charged to go to the doctor or have surgery or all that stuff. I mean, there are exceptions, but generally speaking, I don't leave with a hospital bill. I can understand that. Yes, healthcare is really important, and while it's not perfect here, I hate that I can't even imagine. I really can't, and I don't want to, but it's scary, really.
So I mean,
so I get that aspect of it.
If you're listening, Elon, if I can call you Elon, so it sounds like you have access to resolve one of these potential issues. Lobby for healthcare in America, like that. Like, why don't you take that on?
Yes.
Like, get every American healthcare, and then that'll take off one of your little dominoes. For this barrier for people to have kids. And then childcare, jump on that too. I don't care. Like, again, I'm child free, but the kids should be taken care of. And so and give
also,
everybody healthcare, get kids taken care of. Go for it, Elon.
Yes.
All behind you on this
one. But make sure healthcare includes people who don't have children, because that would just be stupid and unfair. Because I could see him doing that. So continuing on with the article, easing financial barriers to parenthood, like housing prices, student loan crisis, would help too. Look, it would help everybody. Parents or otherwise. Some of the concerns of pronatalists, though, are downright disturbing as well as misplaced. There is no evidence that a woman's ability to control their fertility. There is no evidence that women's ability to control their fertility, a practice that has always existed, if via other means, is the main driver of low birth rates.
So I think what you're saying there is because of like birth control, the birth rates are going down, like basically from like the 50s and 60s.
I just think like that would be a thing. Yes, birth control. Of course, the birth rates are going. My grandma wouldn't have had that many kids if she had had birth control. But
I mean, it's definitely cut down on accidental births. So that would definitely affect the numbers. And I believe there was a statistic out there, and again, please check my facts, people out there. But like, I think it was like 40% of births are like by accident, basically, for lack of a better term.
I don't know. Okay, so I don't do anything based on data, but this still is confusing to me. There is no evidence. Okay, so it's maybe true. There is no evidence that a women's ability to control their fertility, a practice that has always existed, if via other means. I don't know. That's okay. All right. I don't know.
I mean, there's some voodoo out there. I mean, there's
no. I'm not questioning that. I don't. How come there is no evidence? You'd think it would be obvious that.
I think people.
How come there is no evidence? I don't think that's right. How can that be right? I don't get it.
I don't know. I think the people that are again, you can make say anything with statistics.
Right.
Like, if you could do any study and make it say what you want with statistics. I just think the efforts aren't being put in to it. And that's
I think so. I would agree, because I'm sorry. This is just okay. There's something there's something odd about that
here.
Okay. So wait, no, go up, because that's important.
All right.
No. I want to finish that part, because I think that is important there. That particular
paragraph. Okay.
Yes. Nor should a woman be responsible for fixing demographic trends with their bodies. While some pronatalists proclaim that they are pro-choice, some hint at the ills of abortion or are explicitly against it. Forced births are not a viable solution to a dip in birth rates. Further, pronatalism is at least sometimes tied to racism and the Great Replacement theory, a belief that non-whites and immigrants will soon outnumber white voters in Western nations. So, I don't know. I just feel like there's a lot of discrepancies at the beginning of that. Again, so I mean, it's called birth control. And people use it.
Yeah.
How can there not be evidence that has an impact on birth rates? And I'm not speaking out against that. I think it's a good thing because again, choice. Okay. All right. Well, I think.
Well, not to mention, I mean, I think the last thing that we need are people having unwanted children. Like
exactly.
Even on the scale that we see it now, that it already exists, it's bad. So multiply that by X number, and it's X number bad. Like it's not going to get any better. So.
But I mean, I just feel like, certain people want to make it more appealing to have children without talking about the issues of having children
or the consequences of having too many children.
Yes. Okay, we can skip that part. Right. End of babies, blah, blah, blah. Look.
Yeah, let's just go to the last paragraph. Is that it? Nope. Keeps going. Okay.
Okay. No. That's the part that you want to know about, the $10 million donation. Oh. Because that leads into what we're going to talk about, I think, in the next article. Because we've kind of planned this time. Okay, so to end this, for his part, Musk has donated $10 million to the University of Texas in Austin, Bloomberg reported in August, to create the Population Wellbeing Initiative, known as t.w.i.c, a research program tasked with generating research on his concerns about there being too few babies. Okay, let me collect myself here for a second before I continue. The director, Dean Spears, an economist who received the grant from Musk, has written about the dwindling fertility rates, possibly leading humanity to end with a whimper, and penned an opinion piece in the New York Times last month about the global population peaking in our lifetimes. Though not all of t.w.i.'s research directly speaks to Musk's concerns, their research program overall can be used by pronatalists to promote their beliefs. Okay, that's concerning. If the birth rate is really such a dire issue for humanity, it's not as big a leap to think that the uptake of birth control and general autonomy for women has gone too far. And then in brackets, that $10 million is also the kind of funding that say abortion research, that doesn't work. Abortion research.
There's a lot of commas in this.
That is, which has long relied on private donors, could really, really use. Okay, let's clear that up again. Abortion research could really use a $10 million funding. So could Childfree Convention. But that'll be another article. Musk doesn't just want to have a big family for himself, and he isn't just being a jerk to his exes. He's hoping that everyone, well, maybe just people who are like him, will have more babies. He's using his influence and superlative wealth to support a movement that isn't good for women. And against the backdrop of the end of Roe v. Wade, we can't afford to look away. End article. Okay. So...
I mean, just the whole thing with like whatever humanity ending with a whimper. I mean, like again, one thing that we hear a lot in the child-free space from the outside is like, well, if everybody thought like you, then humanity would do. Like, you know how long it would take, number one, to convince everyone to do that, and how long it would take for that to actually happen.
Totally.
Again, child-free people, we don't recruit, we accept. So I don't see the vast majority of the population, unless the Earth is a big ball of fire and it's not the best situation to have kids, that might make a big difference. But for the most part, if things like if the world was frozen in time right now and it just went forward like this forever, I don't see people being like, oh no, we're going to all shift our gears and all be child free. But he's like fear mongering that
Mhm.
that people are going to be like, oh no, humanity is just going to die out with the last two people staring at each other and being like, well, what do we do?
Well, hey,
So,
as long as you like the other person, what a way to go. So we have a comment in the audience. Justin says, really never thought Musk to be that bright, and this proves my theory. All right. I mean, look, if he was going to, and by he I mean Elon Musk, if he really wanted to know the mindset of someone who's consciously choosing to not have children, I mean, I don't think he wants to, but I would encourage him to do so. Yeah, exactly. I mean,
we're right
this is
here.
the thing. It's pushing. Look, everyone's entitled to their opinion. And it is scary when someone who does have a lot of money is funding this kind of research because it's going to be very clear what aim he's going for here. And I would love to see things like, healthcare for everybody, children or no children, and just like there's more to it. Like, yes, his children are going to, I'm assuming, have money because they're his kids. That's not a guarantee, but at this moment. And also, the smart aspect of it. Well, I mean, look, you can have two smart people have a very dumb child and two dumb people have a great child. I don't know how that works, but it's just it's so egotistical.
And well, I mean, and
quite honestly,
the writing, it's all right there. I mean, clearly his fortune and his future fortune for his kids is built on the backs of having a bigger population. Like it just
of
is.
Course,
like,
of course.
So of course he's invested in people having as many kids as possible. I just think that it's odd that they don't care what condition the world's in for those future generations.
Come on, so not so his children are of varying genders, because I do think he also has a child that is transgender. I don't think that child speaks to him anymore. And this is how, I mean, he doesn't have a great history with how he treats his exes based on, what's out there in print, and like there's more to just having a kid. What relationship does he really have? Is he going to have with his children? He has a terrible relationship with his own dad. And it's just so interesting because, like, this is, again, it's people using children to push their agenda. And again, we all have our opinions, and I mean, no one's ever going to agree. There are going to be people who always hate the idea of not having children, and that should be the end all be all. But now we're getting into, okay, we can throw money at something. Let's make this like, what does he want? This $10 million for funding. He wants it to prove that, okay, we need to have all women having children because that's the only hope for humanity. And I'm going to do everything in my power. This is just me pretending to be him. I'm going to do everything in my power to make sure that actually comes to fruition. Mind you, it's a specific population. I guess if he's going to keep it to a certain group of people, like white privileged Americans, well, good.
Possibly,
then that checks me out. So that's
well, I mean,
like, it's just,
I mean, well, that's another one of those, like, kind of like question marks for this whole motive. And they talk about, eugenic natures and the right people or the smart people, whatever the term was. But it would increase all of humanity and whatever. We get off on a tangent for something else. Let's springboard to the next topic.
Okay, because this is continuing
where
on with
that 10 million went to. So this is in the Guardian.com. The heading is first thing, U.S. pro-birth conferences links to far-right eugenicist revealed. This is by Nicholas Slauson. Natal conference to be held in Austin, which that's where that $10 million went in the last article, in December, coming up this year, promoted on far-right podcast circuit and set to host self-described eugenicists, plus the age problem neither U.S. political party wants to talk about. So just to pause right here real quick. We talked about it in a few tweets ago. Like, people try to use that bullet against us as child-free people, saying that we're eugenicists.
Yes.
Because we're choosing to, like, whatever, kill off our own people or whatever it might be.
Yeah, which doesn't make sense, because I don't feel like people understand that child-free people exist in all generations, not just one generation. So that whole comment, your generation will die off and we won't have to deal with you. No, it's every single generation.
Yeah.
Dummies.
Yeah.
And also it's not just the US. People forget that there's more countries outside America. I say that as a Canadian, but it's in every culture. Like, the choice to not have kids is everywhere. So I don't see how they can say we're eugenicists. I mean, I suspect, and this speaks more towards them and how little they investigate, is that we just assume, oh, because some people choose to, because they don't want to pass down whatever condition that they have. They don't want to pass it down, which is a valid concern. It's nice, really, but it's not. We're not going, oh, we all have problems, we're not going to pass on, therefore no one should procreate. I just think they confuse us with antinatalists. Right. And
well, maybe to some degree, I don't think necessarily that's like a core tenet for antinatalists,
because they don't want anyone
either.
To suffer. So it's like
period. Like, bottom line. But to me, that's to basically do that across the board would make me think that antinatalists aren't eugenicists either, because they're like, nobody should be having kids.
Right. Where eugenicist it's very, like, that's the thing. I've had that. I've seen that accusation where it's like you're all accidental eugenicists, but no one goes any further to clarify what they mean by that when they call a child-free person a eugenicist. Because we're not saying, oh, because so and so no one should have kids. Like, it's about choice. And again, some people choose not to have children because they have something they don't want to pass down, and that's fine. But that doesn't speak to all, and that's no one's done research on what percentage that is anyway. But
that's again, we don't have the numbers because the money hasn't been poured into it. Like, what percentage of child-free people have chosen that to quote unquote their bloodline because there's something that they might pass on to their kids that they're dealing with now that they don't want their kids to deal with. So
right. But they focus that's it. Yeah. They focus so much on the end of the bloodline. It's something that does come up in conversation, but I don't, and I see it in comments like going, oh yes, I'm happy to end my bloodline with that. But it's just, we just don't want to have that lifestyle as parents. I don't even think about the bloodline aspect of it. Like, they really take it a whole nother level. Like, it's not just that, or maybe not even that. It's just, that's not how we want to live our life. Right. Yeah. But I think a lot of people who don't even bother to see what that means, they just go to their instant reaction is, oh, you're one of those people, you're ending your bloodline. There's more to it. Yeah. And it's not even that. It's just,
that's the thing.
We don't want to live that way.
Sorry. For the most part, we don't even think like, oh, it's like, we're ending however many tens of thousands of years of, like, you're the last one. It's like, well, that doesn't even cross our minds until you bring it up. It's like you not being you, LeNora, you the outside.
I think it would really benefit. I mean, it wouldn't benefit them, but it would benefit the conversation, and any progress that any child-free content creator is trying to make. It would really benefit to have that at least be understood. No one has to agree with it. But at least, because it's so easy to push the narrative when you're not even allowing space for someone who's chosen not to have kids to speak about, just the basics of it. Because it's just, I mean, not enough people are interested, I guess. But it's sad because there's
yeah. Well, I just think I just kind of think it's funny that it's like, clearly this article's heading already is basically like the pronatalists are the eugenicists, but then they're trying to use that bullet against us as like, shame on you, eugenicists, child-free people, which isn't even a thing. Like, the paths don't really cross.
I think the other side note is child-free convention. We're not what's the word? We're not controversial enough to get an article in the
Yes, I mean, we're pretty boring.
Child-free people, we are. I think we are boring because we're actually talking about life, but that's not good enough. It's not, because we're not saying to end anything. We're just, hey, we chose not to have kids. That's actually quite interesting. There's a lot of things we talk about, but okay,
yeah.
Well, let's read this article.
So A high-end hotel in liberal Texan enclave of Austin is playing host to a conference whose theme is boosting global birth rates, but which will in fact feature racist and eugenicist internet personalities and far-right media figures. I'm going to have a lot of problems reading tonight. The Natal Conference, NATAL, Natal Conference, whose website warns that, in quotations, by the end of the century, nearly every country on Earth will have a shrinking population, and economic systems dependent on reliable growth will collapse. End quote. I don't think they're going to collapse just because things are shrinking. I think humans are resilient enough to like. I have enough faith that by the end of the century, I probably won't be here. Who knows? Maybe I will.
You know what? I think child-free people will be there to greet all those people who are suffering and feeling alone and alienated. Don't worry, we got your back. You will be fine as the population decreases.
So future, like end of the century people watching that have found this and we're like augmented reality in your living room or whatever it is. So I have faith in you, future people, that you're going to solve if this becomes a problem of shrinking population as it occurs, and you'll make adjustments. And there you go. Well, I don't know why they're so worried about the collapse of the world. Like it's going to be like that.
You just demonstrated as a child-free person, you do believe in the future and you do care because you just put that out there. I mean,
for the future. All right.
Okay.
So Natal's website claims the conference has, in quotation, has no political or ideological goal other than a world in which our children can have grandchildren, end quotes. Newsflash, you don't have to have the conference. That already exists. That's literally life right now. That's Is this
really an example of people creating problems that don't exist?
I think so.
Okay.
All right. So let's see. But the Guardian can reveal its organizer, Kevin Dolan, has been promoting the event on far-right podcast circuits and has explicitly linked the conference's pronatalist, in quotation marks, or orientation to eugenics. Or orientation, I guess. I would think that would be like not orientation, but a different word, but okay. Dolan was at one time a social media influencer connected to the far-right Mormon DSNAT, or in quotations, desert nationalist, end quote, subculture, and has himself linked the conference's theme with eugenics in interviews. So I'm today.
Oh, Deseret. I'm like, hang on a second. Let me Google that.
Thank you. I'm today's year old of ever hearing either of those terms. I don't know what they are.
Wait a second. Okay. All right. Deseret nationalist. Okay, so the state of Deseret, this is interesting. The state of Deseret was a proposed state in the United States, proposed in 1849 by settlers of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints in Salt Lake City. Okay, so, all right. So, okay, I just want to go like, what? That was a thing.
It's a real thing.
No, I'm like, that was a thing. But I'm like, what is a desert nationalist? But that's what it is. Okay. And I guess they're still.
So they want to have their own culture. So it's based in Mormon religion. Okay. Okay. We'll just move on from there.
Okay.
So what is...
I'm really interested in this now. not to join, just to clarify what that means. Okay.
What is eugenics? Broadly, eugenics is a group of beliefs that practices aimed at improving the genetic quality of a human population. It became the basis of a popular movement from the late 19th century and led to governments around the world adopting policies such as forced sterilization of disabled and mentally ill people. The field was discredited after the Second World War due to its association with racial policies in Nazi Germany, and many critics have attacked it as a pseudoscience.
Okay, so that has nothing to do with child-free people.
No.
That has nothing to do. First of all, we're also not a movement, but that, and I think that's the thing, because people they label child-free as a movement.
Yeah.
Which is not true, because as you say, we don't recruit. And other things that go along with that. But I go, how do people That would be a good conversation for someone who believes that child-free people are eugenicists to have even set up a panel for that or something.
If you're out there and you want you want to talk.
The whole point of being child-free is we're choosing. It has nothing to do with what kind of people exist and whatnot. It's
yeah.
So wrong. Okay.
Just a few weeks ago, one of the few abortion clinics left in Orlando, Florida, looked like it would have to close its doors. A government agency had ordered it to pay $193,000 in fines, enough to potentially bankrupt the clinic. But supporters of the clinic center of Orlando for Women had an idea. They would crowdfund the money as a way to keep it open. Within days, they succeeded. And as of Friday, the fundraiser has amassed more than $199,000 through 5,500 donors.
I'm sorry, Florida's a mess. Florida, get your act together. You are really terrible towards women and anyone else who is not straight or white. Anyway, continue on.
So now talking about the set, I'm going to try to. Okay.
This is going into other things.
Yeah.
So okay, it was the first part was.
Wait, that was it. That was the story.
That was it. No. This is just like a partial.
Oh, so yeah, I'm sorry. There was a whole new heading. It looked like it kind of went on.
No. That was it about the just a hey. There's a convention for natalists.
I feel like there's way more to dive in. I mean, hey,
yeah.
Nicola, however you say your name. I'm sorry. There's more here. Dive into it. So the next little topic we have here, we actually went to the website for natalconference.com. If you're listening to this and not viewing it, I'll try to explain it. There is some kind of a crest or an icon in the upper left corner.
God.
It's a coat of arms, kind of like a shield, and it's broken into 4 segments. The upper left quadrant has a crown. The upper right quadrant has a chalice. The lower left quadrant has 3 little dots. They're pointed dots. They look like little houses, maybe. And then next to that, on the right, on the bottom, just like 3 lines that are curved at the top. So they're kind of, I don't know. To me, this feels very religion heavy. Like I see a lot of like you've got the Holy Grail, the chalice there, you've got the crown.
But do you recognize the person do you recognize that woman on the homepage?
That's Jackie Kennedy.
I was gonna say they use.
It looks like Jackie Kennedy.
Jackie Kennedy on here, so that would be Caroline Kennedy then, the little child that she has swinging in the air.
I sadly cannot confirm or deny that.
Okay, I'm assuming that would because it's in a bathing suit, so probably girl.
But the other image, like these 3 little, like I guess that's the Proud Boy torches. I don't know what that is, but that's what it looks like to me. And then like the other 3 things, maybe those are tombstones. I don't know. Like I don't understand your crest. Why is this here?
Okay.
But anyway, the NATO conference. If that is Jackie Kennedy,
it looks like Jackie Kennedy to me.
I don't know why they're using it, but I kind of do now. They're trying to be like, remember the 50s when it was right and all right. Like that's what I see here. Right. That's what they're trying to do, is be like, remember the good old days when.
Oh my gosh, yes, when it was, because we all know what a wonderful marriage JFK was it Junior JFK?
JFK, yeah. Junior was his son. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. Sorry.
But anyway,
Canadian, I don't know everybody.
So it does say we're living through the greatest population bust in human history. The future belongs to those who show up. What a low bar. That's the future belongs to those who show up. I mean, literally, they are correct, but let's aim a little higher and let's try to achieve something with the future. Look,
there's always going to be child-free people, so I have full faith in the future generations of child-free people.
The future belongs to whoever lives through the apocalyptic future that's coming our way. That's like, whoever has the most arms or whatever's going to grow out of them with all the pollution, and I don't know. The future belongs to those who show up at it, whatever.
Okay. 50 years ago, were people concerned about the population? I don't know why I'm asking you. You weren't here then.
I would say no. I don't remember this being a concern of anybody that the human race is going to die out or things were going to start sucking in like the end of the century.
But again, I
the next
think
century.
it's good for us to remember who's behind this, what demographic is behind this, what the fear mongering is now.
I don't know, LeNora, who's behind it as I use my mouse and circle the two white people on the screen.
Hey, look, let Jackie Kennedy, or Jackie Onassis, as she died.
Yes.
That was her name when she died. Rest in peace. We shouldn't blame this on that's
no, that's not what I'm doing. I'm just really confused of why.
That was a joke, Cody.
Again, I know. I get why they're using it, but I'm also concerned why they're using it at the same time. Like,
totally.
It seems like a very, or it could just be some woman that looks a lot like her and just like us. We're like, is that Jackie
that's
Kennedy?
Jackie Kennedy. Well, and the other thing too is I was gonna say, we all know how happy her marriage was. Like, you know, JFK was busy with Marilyn Monroe while she was on the beach with her children. So anyway,
could be. All right. So birth rate, I'm just reading the website here. It says birth rates are falling below replacement level all over the world as the heading. And then it goes on to say by the end of the century, nearly every country on earth will have a shrinking population. This is what I read before, so I'm going to skip that. Governments have tried everything in the standard technocratic tool set. Tax incentives, subsidized childcare, propaganda.
I love that they use that word.
And nothing has worked. Well, you know why nothing, especially you know why propaganda hasn't worked? Because it's propaganda. Like
exactly. And people, believe it or not, people outside of your circle are smart.
So yeah, once people realize propaganda is propaganda, it doesn't usually work so well anymore. So anyway, and it says we are gathering the brightest minds in the world in search of a new solution. You're
missing two people.
We weren't asked to be here.
We weren't asked.
So day one it says public, whatever that means. Oh, okay, public live stream symposium discussing various perspectives on this problem. This problem: environmental, physiological, sociological, and cultural.
I'm really curious what they would say, like environmental.
When they don't believe that there's anything wrong with it, I imagine that's what they're going to say. It's like everything's great. Like
the environmental implications of not having enough people in a planet that already has 8 billion now.
And from the things that I've seen online, and I think that what most people are projecting, most studies, is that the world population will top out at like 11 billion, and then it'll start to decrease from that point, just from the general replacement of people we have now, aging out, dying, and the birth rate replacing them. It'll cap out at 11 billion and then start going down. But that's pretty far into the future. But think about that. There's 8 billion people here now. Add 3 billion more people to that. How great is it going to be in the future with that 11 billion people?
I don't know why this just came to me, but I'm really curious if some of the brightest minds that they're having speak at this convention have anything to do with AI. Because
if that's the case, if that's the case, it's very interesting, because a lot of people will argue against the child-free perspective, saying that, well, technology is going to solve a lot of the problems of the world, whether it be pollution or whatever it's going to be, work-life balance, blah, blah, blah. If AI does everything that people think AI can do, then there's going to be a lot of unemployed people on this planet. So if you have now 11 billion people and a fully functional AI, even if it's just a matter of like making things easier by whatever, answering prompts and simple things, and it can replace a lot of jobs by doing that. And I think it will be far beyond that capability. So to our future AI overlords, we'll have that discussion later.
Child-free people, stand with you. We're on your side.
So day 2, closed door. Facilitated private workshop where expert and VIP attendees will meet in groups to share insights and develop solutions.
I bet.
I can only imagine.
I'm just thinking like every like sci-fi movie that I've never seen. And like, that could just be... Okay, so day 1 is fear-mongering. Day 2 is
drinking the Kool-Aid of the fear-mongering.
Exactly.
That's
really
basically what it is.
Happening.
So then it goes on to say, NATO conference, it has no political or ideological goal other than a world in which our children can have grandchildren. If you are concerned about the collapsing fertility, the economic challenges of having children, and increased difficulty of dating for men and women. We want to, okay.
Oh,
Now they're going off on a whole other tangent. So basically,
okay.
so
Straight people, you're allowed to
no,
attend.
that raises an interesting point. So dating for men and women. So do they even care if you're married before they have the kids? Do they care if it's like basically a quote unquote broken household or whatever? They just want people just having kids.
I think they'd be promoting like traditional family values, right? So
okay.
the thing is, I read that last line as, okay, they're having trouble, straight men and straight women are having trouble dating, trying to find suitable baby mamas and baby daddies to have children with so they can continue on this is totally quote unquote traditional family values, and I say that loosely. Everyone, you know what I mean, like it's what we've been taught as a standard.
They're trying to build the nuclear family from scratch.
Right, exactly. Yeah. So I mean, this is the thing, because I don't argue that it is for anyone that is looking to have that old school traditional family, whatever. Like, I imagine it would be difficult because now we're out and about doing whatever. Like, this is a very different time. Absolutely. I'm not saying it isn't. But this is they're now in the minority of kind of like what's, because even marriage isn't forefront on people's minds. Not generally speaking. It's like, what I mean, you're married, but it's like
I'm married. Yeah, I'm happily married.
Like, it's just, but you are a child-free married couple.
But as, right? Even as a married person, and again, happily married, I understand people when they say they don't want to be married. Like, they can, I have relatives that have never been married, and they're pleasant and lovely people. There's nothing wrong with them. They just never got married. And so, I think, again, as the world gets smaller through the connections we can make online and meeting more people and whatever it might be and sharing ideas and thoughts, people don't feel as alone anymore in maybe that decision to say, they don't want to get married. And even if they do, it might just be for the legal reasons to make sure that, people are able to sign off on what they want to have signed off and whatever, like basically to get the government, rubber stamp of approval. But so, I mean, the verbiage of collapsing fertility, again, like, this is such a, to me, I guess I look at climate change the way they look at the collapsing fertility rate. Like, to them, they think that, like, it's just like collapsing so fast, and it's a slow decline in certain parts of the world, whatever. But like with me, with climate change, with the oceans getting warmer, like, again, if the ocean raises 1 degree, 2 degrees, that's really bad. Like, that's really, really bad. I mean, again, I kind of equate it to, think of yourself. And if your temperature, if you're sick, goes up 2 degrees, you feel bad. That's the way that every creature in the ocean would feel bad and possibly die. Okay. And so, like, to me, like, I think that's a big problem. And that's, to me, that's happening faster than these quote unquote collapsing fertility rates. Right. So it's like we're looking at two different things kind of the same way. Like, they're all worried about the fertility. I'm worried about, like, whatever, the plankton.
See, okay. So my concern, and this is the opposite, but similar concern, of someone who is really wanting that traditional family life and worried that that's going to be difficult for them and their future children to have. I'm looking at this as a single female who likes to have life a certain way and to have options. And maybe I will get married one day, maybe I won't. It does not matter to me. And I've chosen to not have children. I don't like the thought of that not being supported. I want everyone to have their options. If someone wants to get married, to have children, if they're, they want the, 1950s version in their own house, okay. But I also want to have the life that I lead and the life that I plan on leading until I die. Right? Like, it's the coexisting. And now, so, I mean, I think we should end this by showing Childfree Convention website to kind of cleanse the palate from this entire episode, which has been very different than what we normally talk about, but it's still important. It just would highlight that this is happening.
In the long run, this does affect us, because because like right here, like this, like this is the Illuminati, basically, like whatever. Behind the scenes, if these people get what they want, it is political and it will be
Totally.
ideological.
Because
It
they have
will be,
funding too.
and
They
they
have
have
funding.
funding. If you have one of the richest people in the world willing to back this, politicians may not be the most ethical individuals, and they will put laws into place that make things very difficult to basically not have kids, and that takes away the ability of choice. Again, choosing to have kids and choosing not to have kids, I think should be the same playing field. Like that's just the way I see it. It's
but
like,
I mean, look, like the U.S. is already with the reversal of Roe v. Wade. I mean, again, this is just it's opened up so much for. Okay, so remember in August 1st, we did the interview on New Legacy Institute with two of the founding members of NON, which was the National Organization for Non-Parents.
Yeah.
And so they started that in the 70s. They let it dissolve in the 80s because, Roe v. Wade was in place, like women's rights, reproductive rights were in place, and they didn't feel the need to continue. But now, flash forward to now, and they're realizing that the conversation that they initially started is still relevant. And we're talking strictly US here, but I mean, it's still relevant everywhere because there are people in this country who want to see Canada go pro-life. Doubt it'll happen, but you never know. So I mean, the whole point is to keep. You do have to keep an eye on. It's important to keep an eye out for things like this, and like I said, like I didn't want us to talk about this particular conference in a way to go, oh, these are morons. Honestly, I didn't. It's important to highlight that this is happening, and like the fact that they have the funding.
Yeah.
I mean, this is the thing. Like people have relied on child-free stuff to be free forever. But the thing is look at what they can do with the funding that they get. $10 million goes a long way.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
For bare bones, right? And so that's the thing. And I don't think people really realize that. Like right now, the child-free conversation, child-free content creators, child-free anything has zero funding. Well, very little, basically zero funding. Well, we do appreciate our sponsor for this episode, but it's very, very limited funding. And we don't get any press. It's like really tiny, but it's actually important.
We're pretty plugged into the child-free content sphere. And from my knowledge, nobody is like just like doing child-free content and making bank. Like nobody's like, oh, I'm so glad I'm doing child-free content. I don't have to do a regular job and whatever. Like that isn't really out there. So most content creators, it's a passion project. That's like us. This is what we do. We enjoy doing it. Luckily, we do have some sponsors that have helped out along the way. But if there's anyone out there that wants to give $10 million, that we're here. But like to me, like they're behind the scenes secret conversation they're going to have. We've talked about this in a couple of Twicks, and like whenever, specifically when the article talked about like Asia and Japan specifically, and it talked about, why people are choosing to not have kids, not to be married, whatever it might be. And like, hey, governments, the answers are all right there. If you truly think that it's a financial reason why people aren't having kids, you can solve that pretty easily. Again, healthcare, childcare, pay scale, make sure people have a living wage. If you want people to
and education,
quote unquote education, if you want them to have that quote unquote nuclear family, then a household has to live off of one income comfortably, has to live off one income, and that's not the way it is. So I'll go ahead.
That's all, but then that's also buying into, I'm not saying this is what you're saying, but if they're saying one income, they're assuming that the woman wants to stay home. And that's my point. That's my point. That's what these people are concerned about. If that's what they're wanting, then there's no way for that to happen, because there aren't many people that can have a single income household, or even want to. Even if they could, do they want to really? I mean, not everybody does. There are
but like I said, like that's only like, to me, like in the child-free space and in the mindset of a person of why they're child-free, like that's only like a one offshoot of why they're child-free is for financial reasons. Like that's just like again, the biggest reason that most of us is, well, we just don't want to have kids. Like that's and then it might be like, the planet, it might be finances, it might be like what we're talking about, like it might be something hereditary that you don't want to pass along to somebody. You might say, yeah, I just really don't for that reason or whatever it is. So, oh, we're eugenicist again. But it's just a piece of the pie. And so again, for these people to come together, yeah, what comes out of this and things like this can and probably will affect child-free people in the future. And not just child-free people, just individuals who want to make a choice in the future. So
and that is the concerning thing, because again, a lot of people feel they don't need to talk about being child-free. They don't feel like there's need for any kind of support because them personally, they're fine. And I mean, I technically would be one of those people. I can live my child-free life relatively unbothered by it.
Yeah.
But the point is that when silence doesn't help anything, especially when things like this that are seemingly low key behind the scenes happening, and then all of a sudden people wake up the next morning and all of their reproductive rights are stripped away. And it's like, well, how did this happen? We didn't know.
Yeah,
we should have and it's like, well, I mean, I just feel like what staying silent, even if you're relatively unbothered by how you're living, that's a small portion. Like there's much bigger things happening. And I don't think people realize the impact they can make if enough child-free people spoke up and say, hey, you know what, we like having our choices. And the fact that things are being misunderstood, and there does have to be course correction with how the child-free conversation is being perceived, because I mean, it's basically a bunch of fluffy crap that's floating out there.
Yeah.
As we
or just misconceptions about the child.
Yeah,
I mean, you know, again, they constantly confuse child-free and childless, or they assume that the reason we don't have kids is because we want to go out partying and whatever and taking vacations every month or week or whatever it is. Yeah, there's a lot of misconceptions out there, and that's one of the reasons we kind of do what we do, is just to talk about child-free life. Yeah. So some of the speakers, we've got the folks from pronatalist.org who we've talked about in past TWICs. I don't know any of these people.
Do you want to know any of these people?
I mean, I would be interested, because I'm open to hearing anybody talk about anything. I would love to hear what their thoughts are, to see where they're coming from, and more importantly, where they're wanting to go with this.
What's this?
This conference. That guy's got a gun. All right. Let's see that guy.
Wait, the marriage and research guy. Okay.
Dr. Pat Fagan, Marriage and Religion Research Institute. Okay. All right. You've got some guy in a Speedo with laser eyes. So
raw egg nationalists. Baby Gravy 9. Oh wow. Man's World.
Man's World. That says it all right there.
Okay.
And then a couple other folks. I actually want to see what it says. Get tickets. How much are tickets to this thing?
Sorry, guys, to our audience. We're just having fun. What?
$500 for a regular ticket. I guess they went down from $650, so it's $500.
But you get dinner with speakers. See, you know what? We could charge for child-free convention, and people could like meet us. Have dinner with us. That's totally worth $4.99 right there.
To go to the closed door, it's $1,000. So if you've got $1,000, you get to meet the Illuminati.
So for all of you people who are like, when are you going to have an in-person child-free convention? Okay, if you want to pay those kind of prices, Cody and I will totally have dinner with you. We're actually very entertaining. We are.
I mean, you raise a great point. I mean, the number, like the $500, that's kind of what it costs to put on an in-person event like that.
Oh yeah, easy.
It is. And you know, depending how many people they're planning on having, it could be $30,000 to $60,000 to put on something like this. So again,
what would we charge for $1,000 if they got well, no, that would be like the whole day. Now I'm just going on a tangent. If we charged $1,000 ticket for a 2-day child-free convention, what other perks would we give them aside from just dinner with us?
High five.
And the other speakers. Other speakers. Okay.
Yeah. And so, that's the thing. I don't know if these people are if they're paying their speakers or not, but whatever. Anyway, we're running short on time. We're out of time, actually.
Well, this has been entertaining. Okay.
It has been. So, yeah. With that being said, LeNora, how can people find us?
All right. Well, if you do want to talk to us, even if you are part of the Natalist organization, you can email us at childfreemedia@gmail.com. You can also go to our website, childfreemedia.com, where you can subscribe to our newsletter, which comes out on occasion, and it contains a variety of child-free podcasts and other news and events and opinions and that sort of thing. It's very entertaining. And you can also, by the way, you can also go and read the archives of all the articles that are all the issues that have been out so far. So there's quite a backlog if you're new to the site. And of course,
we do have some fun partnerships coming up with some new content for some new blogs and podcasts are going to be coming out. So definitely check all that out. Make sure you're getting the newsletter if you're not, because that's the first place you'll find out about it.
Yes, and of course, updates on events like Child Free Convention and International Child Free Day. And of course, on social media, you can find us at Child Free Media on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. So yeah.
There we go.
Okay.
So with that being said, this episode of t.w.i.c and natalism.
Exactly.
So we didn't even get to the fun stuff. But
well, I don't know. This was
a good
fun.
Well, it's educational. I mean, that's the thing. Like we need to know what's being said that could affect us down the road. Again, I never thought Roe v. Wade would be overturned. Like I never thought it would happen, just from the simple fact of poking that bear. Mm-hmm. Is the short long term, like to me, the 3 to 5 years of that happening, it's going to wake up a lot of people that are going to hopefully help change things for the better, as far as like being active.
Well, they better start moving, because it's woken up a lot of the other side that has really and people don't understand that it fuels other countries watching.
Yeah.
You know, those that feel like, oh, well, this is too liberal nowadays, because again,
I don't think it's woken them up as much as it's a lot of people yeah, that's the word. To empower them, to give them more of a megaphone, to not feel like they're I mean, everyone should be able to voice their opinion. I get it, but to have it validated, to have domain over someone else's life is what I have a problem with. Like that's. But whatever. I'll end on that. Everybody have a great morning, evening, afternoon, whatever it is.
And thank you to our live audience. Thank you for joining us. All right. We'll see you next time, guys.
Bye.